Hello everybody, Tyler on the Guy 3 here, and welcome to the second Dragon Ball Z movie review. And today we'll be reviewing the second Dragon Ball Z movie, Dragon Ball Z, World's Strongest. I like this movie in the sense that science is a big theming / motif of this movie, whereas gods were the theme of Dead Zone. Like the whole Earth's Guardian placement was used in the last movie, but in this movie there's more of like science. So let's get down to the plot, everyone. The movie begins with Gohan and Oolong searching for the Dragon Balls in the Zoom-Free Mountains. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I think it's a very hard name to pronounce, but it's basically a mountain that's noticeable for being so cold that even like fire and shit can't melt it. Piccolo actually shows off how strong the mountains are when he tries to energy blast one of them, and it doesn't even have a smudge on it. So he's like, damn, these mountains are strong. So somehow, and I don't know how, this is weird, the classic movies have villains gather Dragon Balls, but with no real means to how they get them. So Dr. Cochin, an evil scientist, was somehow able to gather all 7 Dragon Balls together. But Oolong was able to notice this when he was searching for the Dragon Balls using the Dragon Radar, where he noticed that all of the Dragon Balls had started gathering up themselves. But then again, now this one I can excuse a little bit of, because I would expect Dr. Cochin to have invented something to let him find the Dragon Balls. Like, obviously it's not seen, but I wouldn't doubt if there was such an invention. Anyway, Dr. Cochin finally gathers up all 7 Dragon Balls. And when he does, he wishes for the Eternal Dragon to melt the ice in the Zoom-Free Mountains so that he can wake his master, Dr. Willow, up. Because Dr. Willow's brain has been encased and frozen inside the area beneath the Zoom-Free Mountains after they did their experiments and a snowstorm came up. So at that point, he melts the ice. The Shenron melts the ice, and the laboratory that they had that was encased in ice is finally revealed. And the Dragon Balls scatter. When that's done, nearby is a bunch of warriors that look awfully similar to the Cybermen. These things are called Bio Warriors. Yeah. And basically the Bio Warriors end up attacking Gohan. And when they attack Gohan, Piccolo comes in out of nowhere because they ambush Gohan. And when Piccolo comes out of nowhere and starts defeating them, literally in the same fashion that he defeats the Cyberman, like he takes one on the arm, throws it in the air, and blasts it with the mouth beam, the exact same way. When he does that, 3 Bio Warriors come in and attack Piccolo out of pure nowhere, which is a lot similar to the Dead Zone movie, in which the henchmen attack in which the henchmen attack Piccolo out of pure nowhere. So it shares similarities to that, I guess. Anyway, Gohan makes it out okay, with just with a couple of injuries. And Oolong pretty much falls down on the ground. And also, when Gohan asks, "What are you gonna wish for when you see the dragon?" There's this comical thing of Oolong imagining women's panties, like he did the first time during Dragon Ball, in which, he wished for women's panties when Emperor Pilaf gathered the Dragon Balls. But anyway, once all of that has set in stone, Oolong makes Gohan promise not to reveal where they were, because then obviously they both get in trouble. However, due to the commotion, Oolong accidentally breaks the Dragon Radar. So now Oolong's forced to do the cooking, but he's not good at cooking, so Bulma just has to order in some takeout. Meanwhile, in Situation B, Gohan is studying, and when Gohan's studying, he ends up dozing off and falling asleep. And when he falls asleep, he gets into this dream musical sequence And yeah, that gets kind of weird. Like I said, in the classic Dragon Ball Z movies, they had to put in a musical. Well, they didn't have to, but they felt like they needed to. And it was weird. Yeah, weird. Regardless, back in the first situation, Master Roshi is being called out by these Bio Warriors that are outside. And when Master Roshi comes out, he beats up the Bio Warriors. And then Dr. Cochin comes out and reveals himself. And when he reveals himself, he says that he wants Master Roshi because Master Roshi was known to be one of the strongest warriors. And at first, Master Roshi refuses to go with Dr. Cochin to the laboratory. But then later on, he has no choice but to go with them because the Bio Warriors end up holding Bulma as hostage. So when the Bio Warriors take Bulma hostage, Master Roshi agrees, and they end up going to Dr. Cochin's laboratory. Dr. Cochin feels like it's a good chance for him to test out Master Roshi's body and see how strong it is, because basically the goal that Dr. Cochin wants is to use the world's strongest warrior and make it a vessel for Dr. Willow's brain. So when Master Roshi gets to the laboratory, Dr. Cochin unleashes 3 of his Bio Warriors. Now, let me see. I'm going to try to see if I can pronounce their names right. Kishime, Makutosen, and Ibe Furia. Yeah, that was their names. And when they end up attacking... Now, this was weird. They end up attacking Master Roshi at once, and Master Roshi is actually holding his own. This is one of the movies I like when it comes to just fighters available, because Master Roshi... This is a movie where Master Roshi actually puts in work. Like, he's not comic relief, he's actually doing some fighting. And it's pretty cool to see that. So Master Roshi's actually fighting all 3 of them, and he's doing a pretty damn good job until he uses Kamehameha on the fat one. I can't remember his name right. I think it was Makotosen, because Kishime was the lightning one and Ibe Furia was the ice one. Anyway, when he used the Kamehameha on Makotosen ends up bouncing the Kamehameha back, and then the electric guy Kishime ends up shocking Master Roshi, and Ibe Furia knocks him for a loop. So yeah, Master Roshi's at a disadvantage there because they all jumped him. And then Bulma basically splurts out that Goku is the strongest warrior in the world, not Master Roshi. Master Roshi was 50 years ago, obviously, but now Goku is taking the helm. And because of this, they want to find Goku. However, back at Goku's house, Oolong basically tells what goes on because Bulma and Master Roshi got kidnapped. So Oolong basically tells Goku that Master Roshi and Bulma have been kidnapped, and Goku goes in to go check it out. And Gohan wants to come too, obviously, but Chi-Chi stops him, and there's this funny little scene where Gohan's creeping to the other side, and Bulma's like, Chi-Chi's like, where do you think you're going, Gohan? And Gohan's like, I have to go to the bathroom. And it's weird, because this joke takes 2 turns. In the ocean dub, damn, I keep calling her Bulma. Sorry about that. In the ocean dub, Chi-Chi says the bathroom's not that way, and Gohan creepishly goes back. And in the Funimation dub, Gohan says, I'm going to the bathroom, and Chi-Chi says, go inside and use the bathroom like a civilized person. So it's funny to see the joke take 2 turns based on which dub that you watch. Anyway, we cut to Goku making it to the lab, which I'm not sure. I'm guessing he sensed Master Roshi's energy or Bulma's energy. And when he makes it there, Dr. Cochin opens up the door for him. But before he even enters the lab, he fights with Makotosen. But when they're fighting, Goku thought that he beat Makotosen, or at least knocked him into the water. And he runs inside the lab, and it's really cold because they're in the Arctic. But when he gets in there, he notices this trap room full of spiked balls that are trying to destroy him. And while that's happening, he also fights off against Makotosen. Now, I'm about to exactly reveal, it took a while to do it, but I'm going to reveal which timeline this movie takes place in. Because this movie does not take place in the regular DBZ timeline like the first movie did. This movie actually takes place in a timeline in which Goku was able to arrive and fight the Saiyans before any of the Z Warriors got killed, or at least before Piccolo got killed. There is a screenshot of Piccolo getting shot by Nappa's break cannon in Gohan's musical, because Gohan looks up to Piccolo and shit, but I'm believing that in this situation, Piccolo didn't die by that attack. He lived. Because, and I'll reveal that later in the movie too, in the review too. But basically what ends up happening, Goku's able to use the Kaioken. And he didn't know the Kaioken in the Dead Zone movie, but he does know it in this movie. And he also knows the Spirit Bomb technique, which are King-Kai based attacks. Which means that this movie happened in the timeline in which Goku was able to make it back before Piccolo had got killed by the Saiyans. Because Piccolo's still alive and the Dragon Balls still work. So that's when this movie takes place in an alternate timeline. This is one of the first of many Dragon Ball Z movies to take place in an alternate timeline, actually. So, when that happens, Goku's able to use Kaioken and burst through Makitosen. And then he's able to advance further. But then later on, he ends up fighting against Ibe Furia and Kishime. Now, here's my issue. Master Roshi was able to hold his own pretty well against all three of the Bio Warriors. However, he fought all three of them at once. It begs the question, what would have happened if Master Roshi had fought them one-on-one like Goku did? Or at least one-on-two. I mean, yeah, like fight one and then fight two later on. Because Goku shows that he's having some disadvantages against fighting both Kishime and Ibe Furia. Because when they both end up ganging up on him, he gets beat. Well, he doesn't get beat, but he gets encased in ice while they're fighting. He gets shocked and then encased in ice. And he's about to get killed, but then Gohan and Krillin come out of nowhere and save him. And then Gohan and Krillin try to fight Kishime and Ibe Furia, but they end up getting frozen. Goku burst out using Kaioken, and he ultimately ends up beating both Kishime and Ibe Furia. So, obviously, maybe I'm thinking that that Goku could have fought all three at once if he had used the Kaioken from the beginning. But it just begs the question, is it really a good estimation of power to show off Master Roshi when he's fighting all three Bio Warriors as opposed to one and then later fighting two like Goku did? Like, it seems like the odds were more in Goku's favor because he was able to fight one Bio Warrior and then fight the other two. And then even then, when he fought the other two, he had help from Gohan and Krillin. So, is it really a good estimation of power? Later on, Bulma learns the backstory of Dr. Willow and Dr. Cochin because she already knew about Dr. Willow and Dr. Cochin because she's a scientist and all scientists know each other in the world of Dragon Ball Z, I guess. So, Bulma was able to learn that Dr. Willow is alive, but only through brain. Like, his brain is the only thing keeping him alive right now. His body was destroyed long ago in the blizzard, in the avalanche. But Dr. Cochin is still alive too, so they were able to keep Dr. Willow's brain alive, but nothing else. That's why Dr. Willow reveals that he wants the strongest warrior in the world so that he can use the fighting power of the body while still using the brilliance of Dr. Willow's brain to make an ultimate combination. They also reveal that they were the ones responsible for using technology in order to destroy large parts of the region. So, at that point, Goku and the others finally make it up to the laboratory and see that Bulma is trapped, and they try to get her free. And Master Roshi is just locked up somewhere. I guess to use as a backup body if things don't work out for Goku. Regardless, when they try to go save Master Roshi and Bulma, Piccolo comes out of nowhere. However, there's a weird thing on Piccolo's head. a golden brain-like thing. And Gohan is like, hey, Mr. Piccolo, and Goku immediately realizes that there's something not quite right with Piccolo, and Piccolo ends up smacking Gohan's face to show off that Piccolo has been turned evil. Because Piccolo's still a bad guy at this point. But he shows to be evil. And the two end up like Goku and Piccolo end up fighting each other because Dr. Willow was able to control Piccolo's brain. Which begs the question, why didn't he just use Piccolo as a brain vessel for his needs? I guess he wants the world's strongest though. Like, he wants to know that nobody else can beat him. So he probably wants to go after Goku's body. It would be the desired result. And plus, I think Piccolo's brain is shared with Kami. So, because the two are one and the same. Regardless, Goku and Piccolo are fighting, and Krillin tries to free Bulma, but there's a force field up, so he's not getting any progress. Gohan gets upset that Piccolo and Goku are fighting because he doesn't want his sensei and his father to be fighting each other, and Gohan gets mad at Dr. Cochin, and Cochin keeps pushing him by taunting him and calling him a little baby, and Gohan gets so mad that he pretty much destroys a considerable portion of the lab, to the point where it was able to break Dr. Willow's control over Piccolo. Dr. Cochin, however, gets angry and tries to kill Gohan, yet Krillin comes in and tries to stop Dr. Cochin. Then Master Roshi comes in and breaks Dr. Cochin's arm. Or at least, tears it off, because Master Roshi was able to get out of wherever the hell he was. Then Dr. Cochin ends up fighting Krillin for a while. But because of all the damage that Dr. Cochin's doing to the lab trying to kill Krillin, it ends up ultimately breaking apart. And Krillin is able to get Bulma out of the force field. But out of all the commotion, Dr. Willow decides, okay, I'm going to step into the fray too. And gets out and tries to fight via this mechanical robot-like thing that he made that his brain was encased in. Like, he's able to control the body like a giant mech using his brain signals, which makes sense, I guess. And which begs the question, why can't he just take over the world like this? But he was like, once I'm able to get a body, I can free myself of using this ugly metal shell. So apparently he cares about appearance. So Goku, Master Roshi, and Krillin end up fighting him along with Piccolo and Gohan. And Master Roshi and Krillin don't end up losing. Then Piccolo ends up losing. And they put in a lot of work to beat him, though. Like, I think the one of the scenes that was really cool was that Gohan tried to fight him and he ended up losing too. But then Goku takes the power pole, freaking trips Dr. Willow, and then Piccolo ends up doing like this cool energy volley. However, Dr. Willow was able to break out and knock Piccolo in for a loop. Then it was basically nobody was left to really fight Dr. Willow except Goku. And Goku just goes ahead and is like, alright, time to get serious. And he ends up using Kaioken times 3. So when he did that, he breaks off one of Dr. Willow's arms. And then he also ends up using the Kaioken times 3 Kamehameha. And Dr. Willow counters back with this large energy cannon. And they have a huge epic beam struggle. And then Goku pushes in more power. And it ultimately ends up beating Dr. Willow. Well, at least at that point. Because the entire laboratory ends up breaking apart and stuff like that. But when the laboratory breaks and it seems like Dr. Willow's dead, Goku is able to sense his energy and realize that Dr. Willow is very much alive. So Goku feels like there's only one more option he can use in order to fight off Dr. Willow, and that's the Spirit Bomb. And this scene gets, this scene gets very weird. What ends up happening, Krillin and the others stick by in order to help Goku. And Goku says, back up, you guys. I'm the only one who can bring him. I needed to beat this guy by myself. Or I can beat this guy by myself. And everybody runs out of the lab. And then immediately after, when Goku's charging up energy for the Spirit Bomb, he says, I can't do this alone. I'm going to need energy for the spirit bomb. I'm like, what the hell? You literally just said I can do this alone. And then the next scene over, he says, I can't do this alone. It's very awkward. Watch the Funimation and Ocean dub. He says this in both. I think what he meant to say was, I need energy for the spirit bomb, but I don't need any help fighting him because I don't want you guys to get killed. I think that's what he meant, but it comes off as awkward. Well, anyway, Goku's gathering up energy for the spirit bomb. Obviously, that takes time, though. So, Piccolo takes it upon himself to fly up and try to fight Dr. Willow himself. Then Gohan tries to face Dr. Willow himself, too. And then Krillin tries to do it as well, but he does it much later. Gohan and Piccolo are flying, and they're in the troposphere, like the little sphere that's above the atmosphere, that's the borderline between space and Earth. And they end up fighting Dr. Willow. And they do a pretty good job getting some hits in. Then Krillin comes out of nowhere and comically tries to get a hit in too, but he ends up getting smacked as well. So, yeah, that's what ends up happening. Then Goku finally has enough energy to use the spirit bomb. And when he has enough energy to use the spirit bomb, he launches the damn thing. And Dr. Willow knocks Gohan and the others back. But then the spirit bomb comes in and shoots in, hits Dr. Willow, blasts him off into space, and completely destroys him, and the world is saved. And then everybody returns back to normal. They go back down, and Gohan thanks Piccolo for everything he did, and Piccolo decides that he doesn't want to fight Goku today either, so he just goes off and continues his training. And everybody is thankful that the world has been saved. And then Master Roshi comically says, you know what? Dr. Willow was cool at one point. He thought that I was the strongest guy in the world. And then Bulma's like, well, I guess nobody told him that you were just a dirty old man. And then everybody just comically laughs. And the movie ends. This movie in general, I love the science theme. Like I said before, I love how science is the theming of this movie. Basically, more so in the one of my favorite scenes in this movie, if you take out the fight scenes, obviously, is the conversation that Bulma has with Dr. Cochin and Dr. Willow, because it was a good way to show how the Dragon Ball Z world handles science and how they know that science is a dangerous thing if put into the wrong hands. Dr. Willow and Dr. Cochin are indeed brilliant scientists in this movie, but it shows off how their brilliance can become looked down upon through other scientists like the Dr. Brief and Bulma. Because they're scientists too, but they're scientists in terms of where they try to benefit mankind. Whereas Dr. Willow and Dr. Cochin, they try to benefit mankind as well, just in a more darker turn. But by doing inhumane experiments, they are willing to sacrifice lives in order for their cause to be complete. They are willing to do experiments that most people would find bad, really bad. And I like the theming. I love the counteracting views and perspectives that scientists can feel towards each other in this movie. Which is begging the question, what the hell does this have to do with Goku and the others? Nothing really. Like, Goku served nothing more than just a fighting figurehead in this movie. And does that make it bad? No. It actually makes it a good thing. It shows how, regardless of how big the plot can get, if each character remains relatively the same, then it can make for a good movie. I would definitely have to say this movie's good, but I will say Dead Zone was better in terms of, like, just story. This movie did a good job as far as scientist-like theming, and the fight scenes are really well, too. And I also like to see that Master Roshi put in some work in this movie as well, because this is literally the only movie in which Master Roshi fights. Some can argue that he tried to fight in the Broly movie, but he didn't fight. In this movie, he puts in the most work. He fought the Bio Warriors. He fought the Bio Henchmen. He fought Dr. Cochin and he fought Dr. Willow. So yeah, he did. Master Roshi put in some work in this movie, definitely. Kind of wish that he did his full power though, like where his muscles bulked up. And it also is good to see how, like, it was also good to see Gohan's unlocked potential put in some work for a while, but it also shows how much stronger Gohan has become as a fighter too, because in this movie, it clearly shows that he's been trained by Piccolo now, that he's able to fight for himself rather than just cry a lot in the Dead Zone movie. Would I recommend this more than would I recommend this to any people that are new to Dragon Ball Z? Of course. This movie does a good job of showing off just like Dead Zone, this movie does a good job of showing off the world of Dragon Ball Z and how gruesome it can get, or like how the plot can turn from serious into just pure action in an instant. Other than that, there's not really much to say about this movie. I like this movie a lot, but I definitely would recommend the Dead Zone movie first, and then watch this movie later on in progression. But overall, the movie did a good job of presenting itself. And this, like the other movie I'm going to review afterwards, and the movie I reviewed before, were some of the movies that a lot of audience members, if they've seen Dragon Ball Z already, or at least seen these movies back in the time in which they were released, they got introduced to two versions of this movie. The first being the Ocean dub of this movie, where characters sound noticeably different because they all had different voice actors. And then there's the Funimation dub of this movie, in which characters have the same voices that they have relatively now. And which version would I recommend? If it were between Funimation and Ocean, they're both good. They're both really good. I will definitely say, for a nostalgia factor, I like the Ocean dub of Dragon Ball Z movies like Dead Zone, World's Strongest, and Tree of Might. But I definitely have liked the Funimation dub as well. Like, they're both really good. The premise of the movie is more important than the voice actors to me. And the voice actors in both movies do such a good job. But honestly, I like Funimation more than Ocean dub, in the sense that the way Piccolo sounds in the Ocean dub is very villainous, which works for him being a villain at the time. But later in movies, when he becomes a hero, it sounds very awkward for Piccolo, because Piccolo has this weird, like, evil, Grady voice, where he's like, you guys are gonna pay for sneaking up on me. It's like, that's how he sounds, which is cool for a villain. Unfortunately, when he becomes a hero, that shit sounds awkward. So, yeah, the Ocean dub does a good job in the sense that they put in a lot of, like, enthusiasm into their voice, which the Funimation dub does too, obviously. But there was some just noticeable scenes, like Goku will be like, come here, yeah, and he just does so much, like, voice in it. I don't know, it's your preference, really, but I like both dubs. Both dubs are really good, and if you can somehow find a way to watch the Harmony Gold dub of this movie, if they have it, give that a watch too, I guess. I never seen that one, but the Harmony Gold was a dub that happened before Ocean dub, and Ocean dub happened before Funimation, and Ocean dub technically was still a thing in Dragon Ball Z. It's just it was in the it got moved. Ocean dub was a thing in America, and then later on Funimation bought the rights to Dragon Ball Z, so we got the Americans got the Funimation dub, but the Ocean dub wasn't completely thrown away at that point. They just moved to Canada and some other parts of Europe. If you speak English and you're not and you aren't in the American region, then more than likely you got the Ocean dub of Dragon Ball Z, which for the most part sound good, but a lot of the villains' voices sound very snaky. I don't know if that makes any sense for y'all, but they sound like they have a snake in their voice. Like, a lot of them sound like Berter, if you know who Berter is. So, yeah. And Gohan has Light Yagami's voice when he's older. That's kind of cool, I guess. But anyway, the next movie I will be doing a review of is Dragon Ball Z Movie 3, The Tree of Might. One of my favorites, actually. This is debatably better than Dead Zone, to me. So, I'm looking forward to doing that review. Hope you all had a good day. Sorry for all the name confusions, by the way. I hope you apologize. I hope you all can forgive me for that one. I will see you all then. Tyrone the God 3 out.